In the Brainworx lineup, you have the BX Masterdesk, the Masterdesk Classic and the Masterdesk True Peak. But until now, if you used those, you were not professional, because Brainworx just released the BX Masterdesk PRO. All jokes aside, you're probably still not a pro if you use this one. This new Masterdesk looks like many of the existing plugins by Brainworx mashed together into a new, more significant interface. And for a big part, this is true. This might be exactly what you're after. Or not, because you already might have these functions in other plugins. The looks are taken from the BX Limit True Peak. Unfortunately, the fun ability to change the colors didn't transfer over. The Masterdesk PRO comes with a De-Esser. This is such a handy feature to remove harshness, not only from vocals but all instruments. Think of guitars, keys and cymbals. Another exciting feature of the Masterdesk is the GLUE Compressor, a classic VCA bus compressor, probably an SSL 4000. You get ratio, release and glue settings. Glue is the amount of headroom, dare I say threshold. The ratios are typical, and I miss the lower ratios you usually want in a mastering compressor. Here's a clipper, and that's a brilliant addition to this mastering plugin. Clipping often can sound more transparent when you need to control sharp transients, because it just chops them off instead of using a compressor ratio like a limiter. It also can sound a bit crispier thanks to that clipping. If you turn everything off, and that's not the default setting, you have this EQ curve. Basically flat with a slight bump of 0.3 of a decibel around 10 kHz. This stays the same with the different TMT choices, which are only meant for the compressor. The default setting looks like this. And that is due to the enabled high and low pass filters. The low pass starts like that, around 50 Hz with the center around 24 Hz. And the high pass at 7K-ish with the center around 12 kHz. That will influence the sound, be aware of that. And I will influence you to subscribe to this channel so you will stay up to date on the latest new cool plugins. The BX Masterdesk PRO isn't the cleanest of plugins and it has a noise floor. But that will be usually so low you won't notice unless you get into an unhealthy amount of limiting and gain boost. The plugin also adds third-order harmonics, and these odd harmonics typically give an edgier, aggressive sound. In the plugin this is not that obvious. What influences sound directly are the filters, tone dials, EQ and resonance filters. The tone EQ is EQ but with more special curves. This one is slightly different from the other Masterdesk versions and is relatively smooth sounding. The bass increases the low end and dips the mids, or vice versa. The mid is a broad, smooth bell. The same goes for the high. The presence dial does the combined boost cut curve again. Both ways will boost other areas of presence. EQ gives you 3 bands, with the lowest and highest having the ability to have a shelf. This EQ can go surgical if you need that. These resonance filters come over from the BX Digital V3 plugin and will give you 2 handy tools to remove annoying resonances. It helps with clarity. I'm still determining the exact order of every processing module. It sounds like the compressor is into EQ into limiting, because cranking the low doesn't change the compression, which you would expect if it was EQ before compression. Foundation is a low-end shelf or tilt EQ, aimed to change the tonality of the audio. It also works a bit on the harmonics but overlaps the tone dials and equalizer quite a bit. XL and THD add harmonics to make your master sound fuller and bigger. And the entire limiting section is basically lifted from the BX limiter through peak. If you ever used, for instance, the BX XL V2, you will recognize the ability to pan the mids in a mid-side signal. This sounds vague, but I have used this mid-side panning option in the BX XL V2 to center a master I needed to do for a client. Now, the stereo width can be adjusted with what Brainworx claims to be a new design and uses a cleverly automated EQ system, which is not a simple mid-side method. And combined with the mono maker, you can get a sweet top to bottom funnel. Mono at the low end and broad at the high frequencies. The limiting section, as I already mentioned, is lifted from the Brainworx BX limiter through peak. Check out how that limiter compares against the FabFilter Pro L2 in the video, which is displayed on screen and linked in the description below.